Okay, just getting set up here. I am back in Magical Jungle. I have to turn this sideways to get it to fit. This is the page, if you recall, that used to be a skull. And for you that know me, you know I just don't care for the human skull as a page. Now, this is what it looked like at the first when I started covering parts of it up. Okay, if you missed that, go back to the last video and pick that up. And yeah, we're going to continue on because I have these pens. These are from Amazon. My daughter gave these to me for Christmas, and they actually say Amazon Basics on them. You see, it's not quite a full brush tip. That's the full brush tip. And then here's the one that's just a barely tip. Now, she got these in sets and then divided them and gave me 3 of each. I used them for this background. Notice it did not go through, but this part just soaked it up and left it looking this pinkish gray color. So now I'm coming in with my ink tints. Remember, we used ink tints once before. All right, so I'm coming in with ink tints, and I'm literally coloring right over the top of that. I just felt like you might want to see how this is being finished up. I didn't want to just give up on it. You know what I mean? So I'm just coloring that. It doesn't have to be solid because, as you recall, with ink tints, we're going to come back with water and we're going to wet that ink. So I've got some water over there on the side. I'm actually going to stand up and lean over to do this. And you have to wet it to activate it. Just getting it all wet, nice and juicy. It may ripple your paper some. Don't get it too wet. I probably got it a bit more wet than I had planned. But you want to make sure you activate all the color you put down, because if you don't and it gets wet later, it can smear. Now, as you can see, in some spots, it's slightly lifting. The nature of the beast of what's underneath, probably. Okay. But I just keep working with it. And just a smidge of water this time. Still probably too much. It's a fine line between getting just enough and too much. And it does move around. I mean, all of this is done with the ink tints. Okay? And you can see it did go on. And I can go back and touch it up. It just needs to dry a bit. Okay? But I'm just getting that color on there. I don't have to be real neat getting it on. I need to be neat when I come back in with the brush. But this has been one of those pages that I'm picking up water that is truly outside my comfort zone. But I just knew there had to be a way to get this to work, to be able to color over something that I just personally was not fond of. So, and this opens up all kinds of doorways now into other pictures where I might want to change a little something. Okay. Now I did bring those markers back here with me, the brush pens and stuff. See, too much water again. Anyway, yeah, sigh of frustration, but it's okay. It's going to work. And yes, I'm feeling so much better. You know, it's weird. You're down for a couple weeks really sick. And then all of a sudden when you're better, you're like, oh yeah, I was sick. Maybe it's because I'm older. Easier to forget things. And see, I'm coming back in, and that's still moving around. See how I pulled it up? But if I do that, it's staying down pretty good. It's not coming up on my finger. So I'm not real sure what the answer is, but a good number of you have said, please show what you're doing. Show your mistakes as well as your wins. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And it seems like that is all pulling up now. So maybe just got it wet too soon. But again, yeah, I think I'm getting in a hurry because I'm on camera. And I need to just slow it down, pick up some of that water, put this down more concentrated, slow down. I would say enjoy the journey, but yeah, this is not too enjoyable. It's more enjoyable when I actually know what I'm doing. And this, I'm just kind of learning as I go. Now, a smidge of water, just a dot. Just a dot, she says. Yeah, that's better. Now, I was going to say, the reason I went ahead and brought those brush pens back, besides to show you, was I wanted to go ahead and try it over the top of this in a little bit, just to see how the coverage goes. I did get out to Tuesday morning today to see how their supplies are, because that used to be where I got a lot of my stencils and stuff at. And you know what? So expensive. And the two that I went to are both closing. So I don't know who got the contracts from the art stores for their clearance, but obviously not the two Tuesday mornings close to me. They were expensive. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, there you can see how much better that is. So then I went to Dollar Tree, and I will tell you, at the Dollar Tree, you remember when I used those little long-handled makeup brushes with the chalk pastels that had the little covers on them? They don't have them with the covers, but they do have just the individual brush tip, and in just the small size, but it's at the Dollar Tree, so they were $1.25. So I did not get any because I have enough, but and I did not see makeup sponges this time. So it's half dozen or the other what you see from time to time there. Sometime when I've got the time, I will go in and maybe do a shopping video where we can go and really just look at what's on the shelf and what, you know, might work for you when you're thinking outside the box on coloring supplies. They did have a few stencils. They are not as ornate as the ones I've been using. There we go. It's getting there. But they were pretty decent. They had one that was the round one where you can turn and stencil, and it was actually numbers. So like if you wanted to put the numbers going down the side of a page and stencil that on, That would be good. Okay, I'm hoping that when I move to that just now, I'm still in the screen. I should be. So, yeah, it's wet, so when it's dry, it should be permanent. That's the reason for thoroughly getting it totally wet. And then again, I can also just color on the paper. And I think for what I'm doing, I almost prefer to do it this way right now. So, again, this is not my favorite page, but it has been a learning page for sure. Picking up just a touch of water. Hopefully it's a touch. Nope, more than a touch. So anyway, am I glad that I did this to this page? Yes. Because let's face it, I could always take it and just cut it out of the book because it's an all-over design on the back. But I rather see what I could do to be able to keep it in the book. And like I said, a lot of people, they enjoy doing the skulls and stuff. I just don't. It's just not something that I'm into. And I feel like that's fine. Each person has their own tastes. Just like some people hate doing leaves. And all the leaves on this page are done with just 2 greens. That's it. And then I'm going to use a gel pen, gold, to do all the rest of the lines that are in this. Okay? And I think that will really pop up next to this black. So that's the plan anyway. We'll see what actually works. But that's the plan. This is actually going on kind of like crayon because it's a little bit wet. But I'm okay with that. It'll make it a little bit easier to spread once I get to that point. So just taking your time and following it around. Don't be in a hurry. Okay. There we go. Just going on around. Long strokes, short strokes, whatever floats your boat, whatever works for you, that's what you need to do. Okay, and we're just almost finished up here. I'm not going to worry about doing all this in front of you. You get the idea. You see it is working. There we go. When you get into those little tips and those little areas, really take your time. And I can still see part of the skull through that green, but to be honest with you, that part doesn't bother me. I don't know why. It just doesn't. Okay, when you're working on something, you can touch it. And if it feels dry, but it's still really cold, it's not dry. Okay? So do the touch test and see if it feels cold or if it feels dry. Because if you re-wet something before it is dry, you will probably 95% of the time pull it back up. That paint will just lift right back up. So do the touch test, see if it's cold, see if it's room temp. You know, it's always better to wait and come back to it again later than to get it too soon. So be sure and leave comments. Yeah, I didn't want to wait a whole session for you to see how I ended up finishing this. That's why you got 2 videos back to back. It just took me a while to get it all together so that I could decide what I was going to do. Okay, but you can see now that I've got a system going there, it's working all right. Picking up little bits of water, coming back in some of the areas, going over as I need to, coloring, then minimal water. Now, could you do this with watercolor? Possibly. You would have to try it. And you could do it with acrylic paints. I just didn't want to drag all the acrylic paints out and thin it and all that. Plus, I am trying to use a lot of supplies that I've not used as much in the past. Therefore, it just made sense for me to go ahead and pull these paints out and to use them, or these inks, and to use them instead. So just a couple more minutes here, and then we're going to try the tip over the top, see if it makes any difference, and then we're going to be finished. So be sure you're leaving your comments for me. Feel free to share my videos. I need a little bit more water out over here, just enough to finish this up. Need to get it all wet so that when it gets wet again later with the marker on it, I don't have to worry about it moving around on the page. Ink tints. Remember, ink tints they're inks. It's not watercolor. So once they're dry, they cannot be re-wet and moved around, whereas watercolor, you can re-wet it and move it around. So make sure you get it where you want it to start with. And that's pretty good. Oh, I forgot this section over here. Okay, let's go ahead and get that section real quick. If you're on the Facebook group, Coloring Books Keep It Clean, you will see this completed over there. I will post it when it's all finished. And I will also do a flip through of the book once it's almost finished. I won't do some of the all over pages, but once I get the basic full pages done, I will do a flip through for everybody. And at that point, you'll be able to see it again too. There we go. So I'll just finish it up. And you can see that didn't take too long. We're going to go back to the area that we got first. And that is where we're going to, I'm just going to pour a little bit of water over here and kind of clean my brush so it doesn't dry with that on it. There we go. So we're going to go back to the area that we started at first and use some of this marker on there again. Let's go with the broad tipped one. That's the only thing, is they're not marked as to which is which. I need to tag them somehow. Okay. I'm not sure if that's doing anything or not. I just wanted to see if it would help. There's a little bit of a different texture from what's painted with the ink tints and what's done with marker. And so I'm just seeing if I can get rid of that line by going over what was just done with the Inktense. So I will let that dry and see what's going on there. And then to show you, I'm just going to come in with this gel pen. Obviously not this gel pen. I'm going to come in with a gold gel pen though and do everything else in the gold. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, I would say it's working. That is, to me, a whole lot better. The skull is gone. Okay, and you can see like right there where it needs to be blended between the two blacks. And you can tell up here it did work, so I will do that down there too. Okay? All right, I appreciate y'all. I will see you in a few days. Bye.